All right, welcome everybody. This is Mr. Adam Schuck. He currently serves as the head student manager with the University of Iowa baseball program. Adam has previous experience with MLB Organizations and has a background in statistics and player development. Adam's a welcome member of our baseball operations community. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, hey Dylan, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you.
So Adam, tell me about your roots. How'd you get into baseball?
I imagine like most of us in the industry, I've played ever since I was 2 years old. I guess something a little different is I grew up in Asia,
Oh
um,
wow,
playing there for a little bit. So like my early middle school years. So I got to learn baseball in like very fundamental culture, which I feel like was a good, solid upbringing. Things are definitely different over there, and then I came back and played high school ball like the rest of us and tried to start playing college ball because like the love of my life is what I wanted to do. Realized I wasn't as good as I thought pretty quickly. and then I became a student manager at Iowa, and here we are today.
awesome. Well, what are your career passions? What drives you to be in this game?
Um, I feel like a lot of it comes from me like finding out that like I wasn't really good enough to play college baseball, so I really like just want to help other guys reach their full potential, whatever that is. If it's high school ball, if it's low A, if it's the big leagues, whatever it is, just like squeezing the most out of them. I'm definitely more on the pitching side of the game, which is interesting because I was a catcher growing up, never pitched or wanted anything to really do with it. But at Iowa, we've had some great pitching coaches that very like growth mindset people, and I really was attracted to that.
That's awesome. I was a pitcher.
Sweet, yeah.
So tell me about your time with Iowa. Do you have any big highlights or memories of your time there?
Um, well, we won the Big Ten tournament my freshman year. Got a ring for that, so that was pretty cool. Something I'll cherish. Hoping to go back this year, but didn't get the opportunity. It is what it is. It's tough. No, I traveled with the team all 4 years actually, in like a bullpen catcher sort of role. So I've been coast to coast with the team, like more than I ever could have expected. The players are great. Coaches are super welcoming. It's not kind of a culture where student managers are lesser, like equipment guys, so to speak. We're seen as equals, talk with the players every day. Coaches are very welcoming and able to share literally anything, just open door policy. Hey, coach, I didn't understand what you were saying in practice yesterday. Could you explain this more? Or even sometimes, hey, coach, I saw that maybe this athlete had this with their numbers. Have you ever seen this before? And we can talk about it and things like that. But it's a great program. I just got lucky, honestly, and picked right, fell into it.
That's awesome. Sounds like a great program, very collaborative environment, something that can really help you grow in your player development pursuit.
I sure hope so. But yeah, like I will always have a soft spot for Iowa. I hope I can come back here someday and make an impact.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about how Iowa's implemented any technologies into their program?
Yeah, so we've definitely had our fair share of tech. It seems to never stop. It's not a bad thing. We started off with TrackMan and Bats my freshman year, moved on to Rapsodo, Edgertronic, Blast, HitTrax, all that good stuff. We just got a Yacker Tech this year, still fiddling around with that. But I guess the process that we kind of go through is first we get everything set up and we just want to spend a period of time collecting data. So like really understand what it is we're working with before we try to make any decisions based off of that. So we'll collect the data, then we'll kind of analyze it as manager, staff, and with the coaches. Coaches will all work together to make sure they have like a common understanding using common terms from whatever piece of tech that is. And then we'll educate the players on it. We'll like sit them down in more like a classroom setting. Hey, here's what this means. Here's how it can impact you. This is how it'll make you better for on-field performance.
That's
And
great.
then off of that, once we have a good feel of what data is good, what data maybe doesn't mean as much or is not as impactful, we can make player plans based off of that and really like hammer home immediate feedback for their development.
I think that's such a great tool if you're able to utilize it and communicate it in a way they can understand it. Can you talk about the ways some of the coaches and players have been able to kind of adapt to it?
Yeah, it's been really special. I wouldn't even say that coaches have adapted to it more so as they have like embraced it and like brought it into the program. Um, Especially Desi Druschel, Joe Migliaccio, and Robin Lund are big guys in that sort of aspect of the game. Desi really brought a whole bunch of tech into our program, and he's like, this can really make us better. I'm not sure like exactly how yet, but there's something there, and we're gonna find it. And by God, we did.
That's awesome.
The players at first, their reaction was kind of like, I don't know, like I've been doing this for a long time now. I'm gonna get drafted next year because I was good last year, my sophomore season. Why do I need to change because of some computer telling me to do something? But that really comes from what I talked about, like the implementation process of gaining an understanding of what you're working with before you bring it to the players, and then educating them in a classroom setting with a whole bunch of facts on why this can actually be good for them. And now guys are certainly very open to it, and it's a main form of feedback for them on a daily basis.
That's great that you're able to share that with them and educate them on it. I think it's something, from my experience with it, it's definitely going to change the game globally. I've seen it slowly progress over the years to get adopted more and more. And I just think the more we continue to learn from it and utilize it in the proper ways, that it's going to make a big difference for everybody.
It really is. I'm interested to see what that looks like in the coming years, especially with the big leagues getting Hawkeye now.
Yep.
There's going to be so much data at the big league level that they're not going to know what to do with it. But it'll be cool to see how that trickles down. I think it'll become more affordable and therefore more widely used across the industry. And I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's a trend.
Yeah, those teams that learn how to use all this new data, especially with the Hawkeye coming in, the teams that really understand where those cutting edges are can make a big difference for sure.
Absolutely.
Talking a little more about you, I know some of your previous roles, you served as a minor league quality control coach and video coordinator with the Seattle Mariners. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you learned?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to serve as what Mariners call a QC at their short season affiliate in Everett, Washington. It's only about 45 minutes from Seattle. But I love my time with the Mariners. Very grateful for the opportunity. Great people, great organization. But I would say the biggest thing I learned was it was like a culture shock almost going from the college game to the professional game. Because in the professional game, you're professionals. It's your job. You're getting paid to play baseball or coach baseball, whatever it is. And not to say that our guys at Iowa aren't taking their development seriously, but it's definitely a jump when your livelihood or your job is on the line.
Yep.
Like you realize that nobody's going to be there to hold your hand, not even your coaches, to make sure that you're eating good, you're sleeping right, you're going hard in sprints or anything like that. And it was kind of the same way for me. It was like, it's up to me to do a good job, make sure our coaches have the right information, and they're prepared to make good decisions for our players. But yeah, it was cool to see that. It was definitely a different environment. Each one kind of has their pros and cons, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad that the Mariners gave me that opportunity.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great experience to get that inside look.
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, we had King Felix came and pitched for us twice.
That's cool.
That was special. Yeah, he stuck around after the game one night and just hung out in the locker room with the players. And I didn't talk to him or anything, but I was just like, it's King Felix.
That's so cool for those other players to be able to learn from somebody who has that much experience at the big league level.
Yeah, it was neat.
So can you talk a little bit about how you stay up to date with these latest technologies? I know you mentioned you're informed about the Hawkeye coming in. How do you stay up to date with all these different changes?
Yeah, you just have to have an open mindset, first of all, to everything. And you may see some new piece of tech, and you're like, oh, that's kind of dinky, or the interface is hard to work with. I don't know if I really like that. And just like being open to, maybe this isn't a fantastic product right now, but in 2 years it can have some really good information. I learned a lot by going to ABCA conferences. I've been to 3 of them now, and every year there's a few companies I'm just kind of like, oh, that's really cool. I've never even heard of that before. I just try to like make my way through the floor and talk to all those companies that I've never heard of, and maybe even if they're not something that I see particularly useful, just like learning about them, their logic behind their product. Maybe it's something that'll be helpful in the next coming years. But I really learn a lot at those ABCA conventions for sure, and just talking to buddies throughout the industry, seeing what they're using, things like that.
That's great that you go to those. I think you can always learn something from anybody, and especially these new people, new companies starting out. You never know what little nugget might take off, which one might be the next Rapsodo coming up and actually really make a huge change.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There was one product at ABCA this year that some guy designed something for his like intended purpose, and then I saw it and I was like, whoa, I could use that in a totally different way, not even what you're thinking about. So that was kind of neat, just like things like that, just like, I don't know, sparking ideas.
Yeah, definitely having those ideas and running with them. You never know
Yeah.
what it might lead to. The last question for our talk today, you have any ideas where that next edge in baseball development might be?
Um, if we're talking like tech, tech wise, along that trend, I think at the professional levels, it's definitely immediate biomechanical data. Um, if Hawkeye has that capabilities, I believe it does. If it doesn't, teams are going to install systems at their facilities to make sure that they're capturing some of that. And then teams that can make that information like actionable the quickest, I feel like are going to have a huge upper hand, especially in making that information understandable for the players. So that's going to be very new, with a lot of anatomical terms and a whole lot of graphs.
I think it's pretty cool how all these things blend together. You have biomechanics, the analytics, the data, the actual physical hardware and technologies, all this stuff meshes together to create these whole new baseball systems.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I can't even imagine what's coming next. I'm just going to try to ride the wave and hope to come out on top.
Well, Adam, thanks so much for your talk today. We appreciate you joining, and thanks for sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. It was great talking. Best of luck to you moving forward.